People.
So listening, pay attention.
Oh, yeah. You're looking for capitals?
Yes. No.
Drayton School is a small comprehensive in Banbury, Oxfordshire. Tim Gaylor's taking a Year 10 science lesson. He's recently stepped down from head of science to train as an AST.
Eyes on me.
And John Bailey's come to help.
I did my hair. Thank you, it's that noticeable, right.
Tim likes to take an ambitious approach to lessons, with lots of activity, but the challenge is fitting it all in.
OK, guys, listen for your names. Kirsty? Kirsty?
Yes, sir.
Yes. It's all right, deaf in the old age. Gemma?
Yes, sir.
OK, planner, pens, Ibby. So, let's get rolling, because we've got quite a lot of stuff to do today. First thing, the overall things today.
You've got a really good kind of relaxed style of control. You're prepared to make a joke about having had your hair done because we're looking at you. Someone says something you don't quite catch and you say it's a bit of deafness in my old age. Someone else is a bit late and you just tap your watch. So there's a lot of kind of routines and stuff there established, but you don't go big time about it. You don't go mental.
There's no point because it would waste time.
You're all aliens. Well, I knew this anyway, yeah? Welcome to Planet Hemat. That's where we are. And on Planet Hemat, they have just discovered iron ore. And there are 4 tribes on this planet. And what we're going to look at first thing is, should we mine it? Should we not? Would you, as that tribe, decide whether to mine it or not?
You're on the way to becoming an AST.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Why?
I've been a head of science. I've done that for 5 years or so, and I love that to bits. But the part that I love about it most is the looking at the teaching and learning with staff and working on it with pupils.
If I asked you what you wanted to get better at over the course of a year, what's your journey?
I need to be really certain that I can do excellent lessons. Not just good, I've got to be doing excellence, and I think I've got to be doing them regularly.
We're all going to stand on the agree and disagree with line that's over there on the wall. And if your team, your tribe, decides you're going to mine it, you're down the one end. And if not, you're down the 10 end. And if you're not sure, in the middle. Everybody ready? Yeah. Go. Worker tribe, put the hands up. Worker tribe solidly down there. OK. Could trader tribe. Trader tribe, to be fair to say, not quite as keen. Now is your chance to change opinions. What you're going to do, you need to get yourself in a group with at least one other member of each group.
Well, you're a farmer.
I'm just starting here.
What you can? I'm a soldier. So we need... What's your other one? Trader. Trader, please.
What I've done is I've got the first part of my lesson completed now.
I want to put pressure on you on one point.
Yeah.
It's 19 minutes into a 60-minute lesson, and I'm worried that you're going to have enough time for a plenary at the end. If I was to be super critical, and I wanted to put some pressure on you to knock 8 minutes off that beginning of the lesson, how would you do it? Or would you do it? You might say to me, drop dead, I'm perfectly happy with
I would like to trim it. I'm not sure I'd knock 8 minutes off.
Well, no, because they'd only need, like, touch-ups and stuff, wouldn't they? So they'd only need to make a small amount, which would be less smoke and stuff in it. Yeah. So they won't actually have to be producing so much iron ore because, I mean, they don't actually need much.
Because we could give you some of our limestone in return for some of your copper and bronze so that you can help repair our tools.
I'm not sure I'd trim 8. I'd trim it by 5 at the most.
OK,
I think the value in those discussions and putting arguments down is very high.
Yeah, and they're clearly ready to learn and they're ready to cooperate.
Third time's the charm.
And again, no. I'll get a different book.
You just check the ones. Yeah. Can somebody just check their tap, make sure they've got gas coming through?
If it doesn't work, what do I do?
Start thinking about knocking it out and looking for little bits of metal in what you knock out. There you go. That's close. That's metal. It's staying red hot.
Is that it?
That's right. Now imagine getting enough to make something.
Oh, what's all that? No, that's our lead.
I did some work recently talking to people who'd won Teacher of the Year competitions and stuff. I asked all of them how much time they spent on the job. And virtually without exception, they all told me they did 3 or 4 hours a night through the week.
I don't at present. I have a young family. I tend to put my Sundays, at least half of Sunday, over to it. And what I tend to do is I will work in school till 5:30. But it's very, very, I know myself, if I actually try and work up till, say, 11, it's detrimental for me.
Does the other one give us a bigger yield?
We need to do the other one to find
We
out.
need to do. Do you understand that word yield?
Yeah, like...
Yes, no, go for it.
Can't go over it.
Yield is how much you get out of it. Yeah. You need to be finishing the second one in around about 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
We're moving towards the end of the lesson now. And I'm thinking about plenaries, and all of us tend to remember the beginnings and ends of events better than we do the middles. So if you give people a chance to recapitulate what they've learned, they're able to put a cognitive trigger on what they've got, and they're able to know what they know. So it's a bit like the army.
It's about demonstrating that you know it in some way. And it's the difference between someone nodding and saying, yes, I know it, and actually saying, this is what I know, to some extent, I think.
And the phrase we're after there is deep learning, which means it's changed their perspective, or they're using a method more consciously.
If your group has seen more lead, and you're completely convinced by lead, you'll go and stand under the 1. If you're completely convinced by the copper, you'll go down by the 10. OK, guys, go and vote. I would say... Jan, what would you say our conclusion for this planet should be? Looking at the numbers of people. Gemma? It should be lead, shouldn't it? The decision then for this planet is we're going to be mining and processing lead. Brilliant.
That's the bit that should have come from the pupils at that stage.
Going back to where we started the lesson.
We've got the elements of plenary. It would have been so much nicer to get them to make, because they'd made a decision in that final bit against the wall. It'd be nice to take them, to get them to look around where they are, make the decision, and get them to go and sit down and summarise the lesson or something in 2 sentences, turn to their friend and say, this is what we found out today, rather than have me summarise it.
I agree with you. I'd want a bit more out of them at the end.
A week later, Bailey returns to check whether Tim will make time for a strong plenary to reinforce learning.
Preventing rust. We're going to do 2 experiments to find out how we can do that. You should have in front of you a teaching pack. Covers everything we're going to do today. It says controlling rust at the top. For about 20 minutes, you're going to set up one of 2 experiments. Can you predict in what order they will rust? So you go 1, I think it'll be that one. 2, it'll be that one. 3, whatever. Do you understand what you're doing? Yes. Fine. OK.
Tim's devised a 3-part lesson, and he's tried to put in strict timings. Part 1 is to test rusting under different conditions.
And I want you to have a look through, whilst everybody else is saying, the first few questions on this controlling rust. All right? Good fingernails, by the way.
Which one out the copper and the iron? It's copper and magnesium. So is it a copper and magnesium? The copper and the iron. The strips?
They are, yes. Which one do you think will rust the fastest?
That one, no.
Magnesium, that's what you said. What's your reason for saying that?
But it seems to be almost dissolving.
Put down what you're seeing as well, yeah, and give me a predicted order. Yeah? What you're saying is good stuff.
Actually, pour a little bit, I'll see your eyes.
These ones, we're trying to protect them somehow. OK, of these, which do you think will rust the fastest?
The nail on its own, because it's like not got anything else to...
Could be, couldn't it? OK.
Part 2 is a written exercise about cost-effective methods of rust protection.
Didn't they do it with chromium?
I don't know, but that's a very high price.
How often have you had guttering replaced on your house?
Once.
Once. Do you think it's common or rare?
Rare.
What could we coat it with? Could we...
Another material, some sort.
Yeah, could do. Another metal.
The lesson's going well, but with only 10 minutes left, Tim's taking a risk with a task-based plenary rather than the traditional question and answer session.
And this pulls the strands together. How do you stop rusting? What's the best way of stopping rusting? What we're going to do is we're going to design the bridge for the school. What is the most cost-effective way of preventing it rusting? I've given you the storyboard, and we may get the first ones finished. I want to try and get them finished today. So you're going to storyboard for me a little news article to tell me what you're going to do to this bridge, which method you're going to use. But I want to know that you've understood what we can do to this bridge to stop it rusting. Can you bring it all together for me?
How long was the school staying for? 15 years. 15. 15? Oh, right. So, over...
So, years. It made it more cost-effective, but if you do that...
156 grand in 50 years. Thereabouts.
3 years, yeah. These ones, 12 years back.
How much did it took you? 52,000. No, over 50 years. Oh, 50 years. 156, I think it was. Yeah.
And I think option one's a no, just no go.
Once we've had a decision as to what you're going to do,
That's going to cost you a bomb if you use option 3 or option 2.
Some of the pupils are struggling to complete the task, and time's slipping away.
I think I'm confused. Quite badly. I would draw it. No. I've seen him draw before and he's good.
All right, guys. Quite a few of you need a little bit more time to do this. So what I'm going to do, I've got one group who's just about got enough for me to do one to finish off today. But just before I do theirs, I want to go back to where we started. All of you, I've seen do that. Every single person. This one is where we are now. You turn your heads this way. The things I do for science education. Go for it. Oops, I got the wrong one up. Bingly, 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 bingly. Newsflash. The proposed Drayton Academy are suspected to be spending around £156,000 to build a new bridge. The bridge almost ensures pupils' safety as well as the driver's safety. The cost of the bridge, along with installation, will cost £45,000. The bridge is under high controversy due to the high maintenance of the bridge, which will be zinc-coated and sandblasted. Stay tuned for more news. Round of applause for this group. They wrote it. Guys, OK, quick as you can. There's the bell. I've overrun just slightly.
It was much tighter.
Yeah.
And it reminded me that the plenary can be either through a question-answer form or it can be a plenary activity, which is what you were doing there.
Yeah.
And it pretty much worked. Timekeeping?
Yeah. Yeah, and we still need even more time on that third activity and that plenary, but the timekeeping was clearer and tighter for the pupils. I'm fairly pleased with that, yes.
Thank you very much. I know a lot about Russ now.